Yeah, Shadur Sanders undrafted, right? I was waiting on people to talk about this because I'm like, damn, why is it Shadur Sanders drafted? I'm like, what in the world is going on? So I saw a couple analysts talk about it. Saw a couple people say they're confused by it. Um, but only one person said what I thought, and I'm like, the only thing that I can think of is that he's so flashy uh, that the GMs and the owners are not liking that for a quarterback and his personality.
Good evening, family. Once again, you're tuned in to TWID Radio. Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about, of course, our brother Shador Sanders. Um, and I'm gonna listen to Kwame Brown's take. But let me just focus on what he just said. As a matter of fact, let's rewind this real quick and let him say it again.
He, uh, that the GMs and the owners are not liking that for a quarterback and his personality.
So, what would be the difference in a quarterback, them not liking it in a quarterback in his position, when some teams, every team that you have, the team captain isn't necessarily the quarterback. Ray Lewis, remember, Lawrence Taylor, like you got plenty of players who were the team captains, and they understood, you know what I'm saying, who rallied behind who. So let's go to the next thing. So you're talking about his, his star power or his enthusiasm. Okay, most of these guys, once they get to see, he's coming to the league with a bag. What he's doing is acting the way he's acting, not because of the money, not because he got the money, but that's just who he is. He's a product of his father. His father, before he signed a check, before he made it to the league, was flashy. He was charismatic. But what's wrong with that? What's wrong with, oh, is it because he's black? See, black people don't really have the benefit of just giving this system the benefit of the doubt. We don't have the benefit to give them the benefit of the doubt because we know how this system has always operated when it has come to black people, especially black men.
I know a lot of people don't understand how they are about this quarterback position. Before it was only meant for white guys, before it was only meant for these straight laced, smart guys. And here you have a guy who's holding up a watch every time he's celebrating in a way where a lot of the old school coaches, and the NFL is old school, they don't normally like this flashy style quarterback.
So what? So what? I mean, we're focused on, is he capable, able to get on the field and produce? And so far, his resume says yes.
Same thing. Johnny Manziel was flashy. He got drafted, and we all know he was going to
Yes, he got drafted, and nobody tried to make an example of him during the draft
get drafted. He got drafted, but he didn't last too long.
because he was no good. Simple as that. It wasn't because he was flashy that he didn't make it. It wasn't because he just didn't make it. Like a lot of guys that come to the NFL, they don't make it.
So I saw Marcellus Wiley talk about it, and I said, you know what? I know it may not be right, and I know people may not like it, but I think what Marcellus Wiley said is exactly what the issue is. I'm not saying it's right, but clearly Shador Sanders is talented.
Well, if it's not right, what are we talking about? See, I don't understand that part. If it's not right, what are we talking about?
I still think he's going to be.
It's almost like somebody saying, I know racism exists, but that's just the way it is.
A good player. But I think he's getting some negative press or negative flack. One, because of who his father is. Number two, because how confident and how he presents himself. I don't think there's nothing wrong with being confident. I don't think there's nothing wrong with being young. But I do think this is more than just about his football game. So let me put on what Marcellus Wiley said, because I think that's what they think about him. They think he's cocky. They think he's arrogant. And
They think. How long are we going to allow these people to make us feel like we're supposed to cower down and hold our heads down because we want them to think a certain way? Well, somebody's gonna say, well, if you want a job, okay, well, he don't need a job. As a matter of fact, he don't even have to play football. He may want to play football. It's not a make or break. His dad has broke that generational curse of having to make it to the league so that you can pull your family out of the hood. No, this brother has never been in the hood, him nor his brothers. So football is just a game.
and those things could not be true. But because perception is reality, or they perceive it to be reality, I think that's why this young man is being judged the way that he is. So let's see.
Let's not forget he's being judged because he is a black young man whose father is in his life, just like LeVar Ball.
I don't think he's arrogant or cocky either. I'm just saying I think that's what the football heads and the pundits think about this guy.
Black people tired of what the system thinks about them. Because remember, when we were segregated, minding our business, we still had to deal with what they thought and how they thought, to the point to where they burnt down our homes, they burnt down our towns. So you mean to tell me now we still supposed to concern ourselves with what they think? I think it's not.
Because I can't think of no other reason why, if you guys can give me a better reason why New Orleans Saints did what they did by drafting a kid that, to me, Shedeur Sanders is better than. I can't think of no other reason other than they're insinuating or assuming that he's a cocky guy and that he's not going to be coachable.
They're assuming, but they can't even assume that because his resume, he's never had no. His dad has the best resume I can think of in the NFL. He's played 2 sports, 2 rings, then turned around 2. Like, who else has Deion's resume and he's still cooking? It's if it's up to us to prove it to them based on our resume, this young man's resume is impeccable. But that's, you mean to tell me that's not good enough? I got to kiss your butt.
Somebody you should draft, right? And imagine if you're a team and you're thinking, where should I pick this guy? As you're trying to hire a new prospect who is nothing but an employee, but a highly paid employee. And if he's not going to be a top dog, then it's like, okay, I need somebody who's going to be coachable, who's going to come in here and buy in. And then you click on the TV screen, as everybody else is. You're in the war room, and you see a prospect that has legendary built.
So what? It's not that you're seeing a prospect that has legendary. They've been keeping up with this man's life since Jackson State, even before that, when Deion was coaching Pop Warner and Prosper. So this man's behavior, this man's way of doing things is nothing new. So Marcellus Wiley, you know what I'm saying, is making it seem as though they're just looking at somebody they know nothing of. But I'll let him finish.
Built into his house, built into his rooms. He hadn't taken a snap yet. Then it makes you start to think, and this is not right, but this is the way it goes. You start to think, legendary, you ain't even did jack.
So what? So what? That sounds like he's talking about they hating. You know, man, you know how many people have devotionals. You know how many people who, and he say he's a Christian. You know how many people, you know what I'm saying, who you know, speak things into existence. So he can't do that. He can't believe that. He can't believe that, hey, I'm gonna be a legend. I can't. So I gotta prove something first. And the legend he's talking about might not even come from football. Muhammad Ali is a legend not based on boxing, but what he did out of the ring. That's what made him legendary. So even though he's speaking it into existence, it may not be anything in terms of his legendary status. It may not be anything concerning sports. So is he supposed to just not speak that over his life? He gets that from his father.
Oh, the same dude that had a beef with an NFL MVP in the name of Cam Newton. Cocky.
So what? So what? If he had a beef with, so what?
Reports. A lot of anonymous coaches and sources saying, I don't want a guy that's going to be giving out more press conferences than he's getting game reps.
See, these are excuses. That's all. And Marcus Wiley, what he's playing is devil's advocate. Because these guys don't care nothing about that. These coaches, these GMs, they just want a winning franchise. That's why the Bulls took Dennis Rodman. They said, I could care less about him putting on a dress. He's the best guy when it comes to getting rebounds. Simple as that.
Now, see, this is a former professional athlete. This is a former professional football player. So we got to take all of our feelings out of it. And so when I talk about the basketball game the way that I do, I talk about it from a former professional athlete perspective. And we kind of have insight on the nuances of how these teams perceive you. We know from some of our mistakes. We know from some of our cockiness. You got to have a level of cockiness, a level of arrogance to eat.
Well, that's what he has, Kwame. This brother has a level of cockiness. He has a level of arrogance. Everything that you're saying that you got to have a level of, he has a level of it.
Even be considered or even be good enough to play in these type of arenas. So I do think Marcellus Wiley is spot on when he's talking about this on the way that they perceive him. It doesn't have to mean.
But we understand the way they perceive him, but it has nothing to do with him. Nothing. He's a kid who has a Hall of Fame dad. So Marcellus Wallace can't really speak to that because he didn't have nobody hating on his dad. This brother has a Deion Sanders is his dad.
That is right. But that's the way they perceive him. And if I believe that's the way they perceive him. I'm not saying that's 100% right. But you know, with Floyd Mayweather, with all us black men, Jack Johnson, a lot of black men that perceive to be cocky, to perceive to be arrogant or confident even, they seem to want to make you tamper down a little bit. Floyd Mayweather was no good acting the way he was acting, but Conor McGregor, they thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know? So that's just, I think he's spot on when it comes to this.
It's a little noisy back there. Our backups are noisy. Telling you how the game goes because the NFL is militaristic. It is a military outfit. It is. And they will discipline you if they can. Unless you're elite and you got the hammer.
So the question, Marcellus Wiley, is why would they be trying to discipline a rookie who hasn't done anything wrong but be a young kid? Therein lies the problem. Be different if he was getting in trouble. If he was coming out of college as a disciplinary problem. He's not. So why would they feel as though he needs to be disciplined? In other words, are you saying, say, boy, get back in your place? Say, boy, hold your head down? Say, boy, say yes, sir, massa. What are you saying, Marcellus Wiley? You ain't saying nothing, because what you're saying is, I understand. Even though I don't agree, I don't see he's straddling the fence. And I hate when our people straddle the fence. I understand what he's saying in terms of he's played the game, but I don't understand how he don't see that it really don't matter about this young man and him being who he is. At the end of the day, it's because of the pigment in his skin. Plain and simple, the pigment in his skin. So we can try to act, we can try to play, we can try to make ourselves believe that it's something that it's not. It's because the pigment of his skin. Simple as that. Family, you've been tuned into TWID Radio. TWID stands for That's What I Do. And until next time, all praise to the Most High. Peace.